Good afternoon, beloved community. Thank you so much for joining me on this fine Sunday afternoon. We have very special guest, Norman Rabin, that will be joining us shortly. But let's go ahead and let's kick off with some targeted justice news for this week.
It turns out that the Department of Justice is actually the worst, statistically. Not surprising, considering what targeted justice went through with our big lawsuit. Based on the number of whistleblower complaints per employee since 2000, the DOJ, including DEA and ATF, is the most corrupt U.S. government agency. Again, the key to such corruption is the agency's refusal to prosecute their own criminals. With more of these exposures coming, we can expect a massive effort from the government criminals to silence X.com's AI, Grok, or feed it bad data. Richard Lighthouse recently asked Grok if it had any evidence of data tampering. He asked, "Is there any evidence that your data has been altered or hacked?" Grok responded 3 times in a row with this: "Something went wrong. Please refresh or reconnect to try again."
Experian is illegally marking targeted, law-abiding citizens. This statement has been found in an Experian credit file frozen due to federal legislation. You have the right to check your credit report for free.
If it walks like the NSA, swims like the NSA, and quacks like the NSA, it's probably the NSA. Der Führer's Nazi Stasi Academy. This is April Doss. She is the general counsel at the NSA. She swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution, but can't seem to stop her quackery. April openly admits on her LinkedIn profile that she participated in the Russian collusion hoax against President Trump. Why is she still employed at the NSA? In the words of Ed Snowden, back in 2013, and I quote, "The NSA collects everything: emails, phone calls, and texts," end quote. To contact the National Security Agency, you can use the following methods based on publicly available information.
About 95% of TIs refuse to fight back. Why? Your torture will not end on its own. Make these perps regret messing with you. Stay connected with the TI community. Just because you're a TI doesn't make you hopeless.
There are over 400 U.S. military bases domestically, including Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard installations. Fort Sam Houston in Texas, the Google Maps restrictions after unauthorized street view images were taken. Targeted Justice has received multiple reports about child trafficking warehouses on U.S. Army bases.
Sorry, okay, am I still live? Yes, it's, the more that we try to expose, especially with someone that is a true leader and important part of our history, it's not surprising that, everything that I've loaded get disrupted, but we're going to continue to pioneer through this. Let me see about, I wanted to finish playing out the news, but the news, we can get that back, it'll be posted on the Chosen Heroes page and other targeted justice channels. It's never surprising the amount of resistance, that comes in, especially, with what all Norman has done for this community. I'm not surprised. So I'm going to get some of my slides, back up that I had loaded for Norman's guest appearance here. So just give me a moment to get those started. They don't take very very long. Just one more thing that I need to do here. All right. Okay, and again, sorry that targeted justice news got cut off. We will definitely, get that loaded out on the appropriate channels. It looks like on there we go. It loaded finally. I just need to get one more thing. Bear with me. I appreciate your patience. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we'll get to this image once Norman comes up to the stage. So, okay, let's kick it off with just some announcements here. As always, Target Source LLC. Armando is the maker, inventor, creator of the Silent Night and the SK Great Reset Zapper, and Dr. Clark's Zapper. He has that as well. So if you're interested in his device, please reach out to him at silentnight.source@gmail.com. And always a shout out to tievents.org. Tranquility does such a wonderful job. It just amazes me in organizing everything that is TI event related. And it's so, refreshing and just, I'm in awe of how many more people are coming forward to do events, to host meetings, and to get out there in community with one another, and to not let our voices be silenced. I just wanted to take a short moment, and upcoming guests that will be appearing on the Chosen Heroes podcast next Sunday will be Jason Lee. He's also known as Galactic Monk. He has a new book out based off of his targeting experience. He has definitely been key in advocating against, all of us that are targeted, with his short videos that are very, just captivating in terms of getting that knowledge and what's being done against us out to the public. On August 3rd, Olivia James, who is the author of the Gray Mouse book series, and those books are related to human experimentation, MK Ultra-esque type programs, and all of the atrocities that go along with it. Christopher Matlin is rescheduled for August 17th. He was supposed to appear, last week, but due to technical challenges, wasn't able to connect. So we got him rescheduled for the 17th. I also want to mention on July 26th, the Beyond the Looking Glass presents the Targeted Survivor Counterintelligence Training, the bi-weekly conference that I co-host with author Jamie Rice she is with Quantum Reality Studies. And this entails the Poly-Sci method to kickstart your inner healing journey. And it's been well received, and it is, when we heal ourselves and we know our worth and our value, that's the kryptonite to these programs that try to dismantle and isolate us. On July 27th in the evening after the Chosen Heroes, and on August 3rd, it is a two-part event hosted by Dr. K, who was a recent guest of the Chosen Heroes. She has an offering for our community at no cost. It is about the distorted energetic seals within the biofield that limit consciousness and greater connection to one's higher self and to, a divine power, right? So if you are interested in that, please reach out to me at chosen_heroes@proton.me to get signed up and to get the Zoom call details. And please, your support means everything to me. Please subscribe, follow, like, and share. I'm on all these different social media channels. I don't get to post on all of them like I'd like to due to time constraints, but I appreciate your support and sharing and liking the content. So as I had mentioned, before I bring him up on the stage, I'm going to give an introduction. You know, Norman Rabin has been a huge part of our history. And he is the pioneer of fighting, you know, for targeted civilians and the experimentation that has been done to us and the torture against our bodies. And he has been persistent and diligent in keeping the light shining on these violations. And he embodies a true leader, which is in what it takes to expose these crimes. He's never relented, never given up. And I'm going to bring up the next slide here. I want to point out that Norman's website is up at the top, and I urge you to go to his website. There is just so much information for you to read through. He's got examples of the flyers and petitions that he has filed over the years. Norman has been targeted approximately 35 years overtly, then learned that covertly since 1985. And in 1994, he attended and submitted a testimony to the U.S. Senate hearing of the U.S. Senate Governmental Affairs Committee. And I believe that at the time it was then Chairman Senator John Glenn presiding. In October 1995, his name appeared as one of 103 listed contributors of information to the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments, where that final report issued recommendations 15, which championed the general cause for the adoption of a federal policy requiring informed consent of all human subjects of classified research, and that this requirement not be subject to exemption or waiver. So that's, you know, just again, an example of a true leader and history maker, and continuing with this. And he handed out over 15,000 flyers beginning in 1994 through the 2000s. Some included petitions, and those flyers can be referenced on his website. In 1995, he filed a lawsuit, Rabin versus U.S. Department of State and CIA. The case number is number 95CV4310, and in parentheses ADS. So that is, again, tracks in history. You can pull that up just through, you know, a common, you know, Google search. In 2008, he hosted and organized Jonathan Henderson's thermal scanning project, and scanned, victims were scanned on the East Coast. In 2010, he provided testimony to Presidential Bioethics Commission, and that testimony video is available on Norman's website, and we may play that. I've got it queued up, but we'll bring Norman up to the stage first. And then in 2023, I'm sorry, there's a typo there. He filed plaintiff's federal rulemaking challenge case with 4 other victims, and the case is still pending. So I have other slides prepared, another slide prepared, but I'm going to go ahead and bring Norman up to the stage right now. And hello, and thank you so much, Norman, for joining us here today. Again, on behalf of this community, we thank you for all that you've done, and you've never given up. You've continued to make tracks and recordable tracks in history for us. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melissa, for inviting me. I hope that this podcast presentation will be helpful to fellow victims, TIs. It's been a long crime so far. Hope it'll
Yes.
be exiting soon, but go ahead. Thank you. Thanks for
Yes.
inviting.
You're welcome. Can you start by sharing a bit about yourself and how you became involved in the targeted individual community? I mean, you're a senior member with, almost 35 years of overt targeting and 39, likely when it began covertly. So can you tell us how did it all begin?
Okay. It all began at first. The first 4 3/4 years, I didn't know I was a victim. I was targeted more or less by mind control and manipulation. So what happened was I took out to read a paper as part of my job. I was working. I was, about 2.5 years out of college, working on my second job after college, a small company that had biomedical electronic products. The products involved the EKGs, and my main job was that I was hired for to be part of a team that made a first generation solid state heart monitor. So in the old days, they used to record heart signals by a tape. So they would slap on sensors to your chest area, whatever, and they would attach to that into more or less onto a tape recorder, and it would record your EKGs for 24 or 48 hours. So our team, you could say, was a startup project of a company that had one prior product. So I was one of the programmers in that small team effort to have a solid state device. The solid state device, instead of recording all the heart signals, would categorize the EKG signals. Oh, this is pattern 1, this is pattern 5, pattern 10, whatever, and it would at the end, you go to your doctor and you say, oh, what do the results say? And he would say, oh, let's see. And he or she would put up on their screen, oh, I see you have normal beats all over the place. Oh, there's some abnormal beats, and they would take a peek at it and see how frequent it was. Anyway, the first product of this company was still in production, and the company was looking to get Medicaid approval. So I was involved in a little side support project, utility computer programming little project related to that. So in my association with that, I asked, can I read the PhD dissertation, which was the mathematical basis. It was a mathematical invention for this company's first project. And so I took out to read this math paper, which I probably should have found the paper a few pages from the paper that it would just explain what it is. So it changes an EKG from an XY. You have a graph going across the screen for EKG. People who've had an EKG, many people are familiar with it. So it remapped the EKG into a different pattern, into a different template. And if your EKG goes out of the template, then you have a higher risk for having heart disease, what's called hidden heart disease that you couldn't see as easily.
Right.
It was like a mathematical transform to amplify abnormalities in a heart signal. So anyway, took out to read this paper about this mathematical idea to detect heart disease easier. And I took it out on Monday, December 30th, 1985. I was going to read it, I guess, New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. I wasn't doing anything New Year's Eve, so I ended up reading it New Year's Eve. But when I was driving home from work on December 31st, I started getting these ideas to my head. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought, he's having creative ideas. I don't know. So that was the first targeting that I was hit by. So after I got home, I wrote down these ideas that I had, that I had. They would be transmitted to me. And so I wrote those down, and that was the start of my not realizing, the start of my keeping a notebook describing my being targeted that month of January. I didn't even realize what I was starting. But so I went to read this paper over New Year's Eve from like 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. It was long. It's a 100-page biomathematics paper. When I got up in the morning, however, sleeping late to whatever, 11 a.m., whatever it was, my brain didn't feel the same. It felt like the sensation was that my mind felt, I wrote down felt like my mind was all opened up. So that was the sensation, and I was having just more associative ideas. So my brain wasn't working in the same way.
So was it more, what would you say, more elevated in terms of what you were receiving? What types of messages or ideas were you receiving? Were they very, advanced, and just describe what type of ideas and such you were receiving?
They were like sciencey, just maybe a combination of science flavored ideas. Clouds. Think of the mathematics of clouds. I don't know. And some of the stuff in the month of January had a military taste to it. Something like the hope for mankind is the perfection of the human mindset. It sounds like something straight out of the Pentagon, right?
Wow.
I wrote this down, wrote all this stuff down, whatever. So they were stimulating my mind. Sometimes they would wake me up earlier to disturb my sleep cycles. So they were doing, so their job was in effect to create an artificial simulation of a technological assault caused mania. When people have mania as part of manic depressive illness, they have extra amount of ideas, and they also end up having grandiose ideas. God is speaking to me, whatever. But so they were doing something like a simulation of an artificial simulation of that to have my mind to be more active. And to simulate an extra stimulatory state.
Right. And this is all of this started right after you had finished reading it, or while you were reading it. Was it after or during?
They really didn't touch me after I read it. There's one funny thing in there. So when I read it, I took detailed notes like anyone trying to be a student on a paper, a math paper, whatever. So I took detailed notes. To this day, I don't know what happened to those notes. It's like they disappeared. I don't know what happened. Big mystery. But any event, long story short, their job was sort of to distract me from that paper, and to also to carry out this simulated, artificially caused experience of mania. Someone having mania.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing something real in that human beings, a person's neurotransmitter, so your brain is active during the day. There's a natural cycle of activity and recovery. So I'm not a neuroscientist to know the exact neurotransmitters. Neuroscientists to be able to name the neurotransmitters. But so during the day, your certain neurotransmitters are part of the process of you thinking, and you have each idea that you have, whatever. And then at night, it winds back. The neurotransmitters recover. There's a changeover in the neurotransmitters from maybe from an active to a potential state, whatever, something like that. That's how I'm paraphrasing it. So they were doing something unnatural. So they were causing me to not be able to recharge my neurotransmitters in a natural way. So they were in effect depleting my brain super unnaturally from its natural process to stimulate. The consequence of that is that, so they did that process of January 1986, but they did it in two other instances where they stimulated my brain for a bunch of weeks, whatever. So it ended up taking me like a span of a month and a half or 2 months to recover from that, because my brain had to I ended up having depression, not because I was sad or something, but because my brain was all overworked,
Sensory overload, right?
overloaded and recovering from the overload. It was used to the natural cycle. You go to sleep, your brain recovers, refreshes the next day. No, they didn't let my brain recover ever for a span of weeks. And so there you get an overload. So things got to heal, and the healing symptom end up you experience depression because your neurotransmitters are all messed up. So I was put through that. These artificially caused manic or mania episodes or states of being for in 3 separate instances. It wasn't fun. The depression is horrible. It's really your body, your whole body, your mind. Your mind shuts down a bit, but your body just shuts down tremendously. You feel lethargic. It's anybody who's been through depression, however it happened, it's really, really rough.
So they then put you through other symptoms too. They started introducing different things as well, right?
No. The depression was a natural consequence of their overstimulating my brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you have a broken arm, your bone has to heal. It has to heal up. And so in this it's not the bone, but it's the neurotransmitters got to rebalance, replenish, and everything.
But you did eventually start getting the voice to skull transmission, correct?
So that's a whole different stage. So they did this covert mania bit, whatever, with me a few times.
Oh yes, because this was all covertly. Then when you realized it was overt, then that is when the V2K, the voice transmission.
Yeah. So I had no idea I was being targeted. I don't want to make a long story out of it. I guess because I came down with these stimulatory episodes, whatever, I came to conclude, the medicine wasn't working, that I was taking wasn't working. So I ended up withdrawing or just stopped taking medicine. And when I did that, they and some other victims have reported sequences, by the way, that the government plays God with psychiatry or psychiatry medications. I've heard some victims describe, I stopped taking medicine and then I have this freaky mental experiences, and talking about V2K stuff, not psychological, but technology stuff. So I've heard of this. So I went through a process of I stopped medicines, whatever, and they would become rough on me and cause me to be hospitalized. Even I went through that process like 4 months with some hospitalizations. Then they just stopped hospitalizing me, and I eventually got off of it. It was sort of rough. And then from May 1990 forward, I guess I was at the very end of taking one medicine. I was still withdrawing off of it. Had to go a little slow on that withdrawal, so they were on me though from like consecutively, covertly, without me knowing it, from early May 1990 until they started overt stuff on me in mid-October 1990. When they were doing this, I started having these bodily sensations. So I went on a camping trip, canoe trip, with kayak trip, whatever, with a friend. And when I was driving, I felt like I felt like my head was all puffed up. My eyes were all. I just felt some unnatural pressure. Mm-hmm. This was some kind of symptom of their using a full body tracking technology on me, or an early stage of it at that time. I didn't know what was going on. So on that camping trip, but even in that summer, they would be haunting me sometimes, literally torturing me covertly. Like in the camping trip, a plane would fly overhead, and they would literally be tormenting my brain, synchronous to the hum of the airplane. And that summer, I remember a neighbor. The landscapers from the neighbors, the backyard neighbors, they'd be cutting the lawn, whatever, and the government would be, I didn't know I was a victim of it, but they would be pecking at my brain, tormenting my brain, synchronous to the hum of the lawnmower. The lawnmower was working, and they're tormenting my brain physically, synchronous to the hum of the lawnmower.
So more like maybe the sound frequencies from that, the noise of the lawnmower was, directed at you to amplify the transmission of what they were doing to you or trying to torture you with through that.
I interpret it, Melissa, I interpret it a different way. What they do is, so when a person hears, and a lot of victims at different stages of their being a victim have gone through something like this, where you think you're hearing voices from your refrigerator or synchronous to the refrigerator. What the government is really doing is they're watching your brain's attention or wave, or I don't want to say brain wave, I don't like those words here. So your brain links up or to be in a state of attention to a regular sound, whether it's a hum of a refrigerator or a buzz of an airplane or a lawnmower, whatever. So so your brain sort of synchronizes with that, and so the government is inserting in your brain's synchronization with that their beats of torture or the beats of torment, something like that. So it's not that the refrigerator is talking to you, but they're inserting their voices right upon your brain, something like your brain's attention to the refrigerator hum or something like that. So they're inserting it in a organized manner. They're inserting their signal in an organized, their assault in an organized manner upon your perception, upon your attention. I don't know if you could call it attention wave or maybe
like a gateway for them to.
Yeah. Maybe some people would call it, there is a phenomenon in psychology, I guess, of entrainment. So when you pay attention to something, to some degree, your brain tries to sync up with the perception. So the government was they're observing your whole brain, right? But they're also observing part of that, part of this attention that you're having, and inserting this harassment into your attentional brain process, something like that. So anyway,
that's well stated. I like how you describe that. So they're taking the attention that attention your brain is giving to this noise and using it as a channel to interject torture along with that.
There's they do a lot of things with attention. Attention is very important because it involves your conscious involvement with your environment, with what people ignore all kinds of things that are around you, but on the other hand, you're also paying attention to certain things. You're paying attention to things that you care about or that may be important to you. There's some, Jim, my brain is, now there's an important concept. Okay, yeah. So since I've been, I guess I shouldn't get. Okay, I'll mention anyway. So I've been a victim of V2K since November 1990 consecutively. When they transmit at me the voice transmissions, whatever, they accompany it by a rhythm machine. So there's a surveillance team of 3, 4, 5 females. Typically, it's females. There's some other parties there, some males, females, whatever. Mainly the other people are males. But they get me to pay attention to their voice. Otherwise, I ignore them. They get me to pay attention to the voice by their rhythm machine. So I'm expecting the next beat of the rhythm machine, beep, beep, boom, 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 and upon that, they're chanting the voice. And therefore, they're sort of forcing me to pay attention to what they're saying. And
they have all kinds of different ways they try to, get us to pay attention. Like you said, attention is the most important buy-in from us. When we try to ignore it, then it is like the system is trying all different types of avenues to get that attention, because in starving it from attention is how it loses that power over you and control, because that's all it is wanting to have that control, have you to be distracted, to have you not go about your day and the events that you had planned out, to have you stall out and pay attention to it. Unfortunately, that's the design of it: distraction, isolation, and lack of progression in your day-to-day living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if any I don't know, maybe you have a small audience today. But if any of the people watching, I'm just curious. I don't know. I don't know how many victims have the rhythm machine set up as part of their V2K. I don't know.
Yes, if anybody experiences any kind of like rhythm pattern along with the V2K, just let us know. When we talked before the podcast the other day, you had stated there people must know that there is a lot of different flavors to the V2K. Some of us experience very derogative, demeaning, very threatening remarks. Some is more conversational, some are observational and surveillance. Do you want to add in what you've discovered as well? Because you had stated, I believe yours is more conversational and surveillance related, but not so much of the derogatory threatening.
Yeah. So I get a lot of the surveillance on me is something like what's it called? It's a surveillance team. They're commenting. They're repeating my thoughts. I assume they probably see my thoughts on a screen or something, and they'll read them back into my head. Whatever. There's conversational stuff, and there's also, I guess, a lot of victims get a thought intrusion. They'll make suggestions all the time, this, that, and I want to do what I need to do, what I want to do, and they're transmitting their ideas at me and distracting me from that.
Or suggestions so that you don't, act in a way that is favorable to you, more on a discrediting, character assassinating line, because the golden, goal, I think, for them is to have us, mislabeled as having mental illness. That's why the voice to skull, anybody that in public unaware of these type of atrocities being done and experimentation against us would think that, all they can latch onto is, oh, well, people with schizophrenia have voices. But we know that that's not the case. So it was kind of like a perfect ruse that they use to discredit us as they experiment on us. There was a comment that I saw. Let me bring this one up. So Katya says that she has actually had different YouTube pages where the person she was watching began having dialogue with her. So that's very interesting. They would say her name and she felt she was being interrogated. This happened with different pages. So that technology took on the voice of the YouTube video, person in the YouTube video, which there is, and I can't think of the name of it now. I think it's Adobe Voice, something like that can latch on to just seconds of a audible clip of a voice and then begin mimicking it. So that's very interesting. Have you heard of anything like that? I know some people think that celebrities are talking to them, or they're getting celebrity voices, and I mean it's very sophisticated, this technology. For me, the voices mirror those that when all of this began, and the place that I worked. Those are the voices that mimic. Are being projected at me. I think that there's like a primary handler, and then there is the background participants, like you said. In my case too, I have a mixture of female and male participants in the audio voice to skull transmission.
Yeah, I want to make a comment from my experience. we some other fellow victims have described it as they put on skits, whatever. So Katya, if I got your name correctly, so someone thought it might be a fun idea to act out as if, I'm going to pretend I'm the people that she's watching on YouTube. I'm going to talk to her. She never talked to a living YouTube before, but I'm coming from the YouTube and talking to her. But over the years, they've put on all kinds of skits. Someone hearing a voice from a movie star or some famous person. That's a classic. That's a very classic type of skit that they do. Another, I guess, one common one is probably to purport that a particular government official is watching you. Oh, the president's watching me, or the department, or this particular official, Secretary of Defense, or whoever. Some official is watching, or your senator, or your congressman. If you, let's say you wrote to your senator, your congressman last week or something, they'll put on a skit that purports that, your congressman is watching you. In rare cases, maybe they might inspect the technology, but I don't think they would go anywhere near touching a constituent with the government's illegal technology. They might take a tour of their premises. Oh, show me how do you talk to someone's head? What are you doing? But so yeah, they have this capacity for acting out skits, and maybe they're well practiced, or maybe it's a qualification for their job. To act out a skit, to be an actor of some type, to make a skit, put on something fictitious.
Yes, for sure. So you have let's dive into your early advocacy. And when you attended the U.S. Senate hearing in January 1994 and you met other victims there, what was that experience like? And how did it shape your understanding of being a targeted individual?
So I want to describe the context of this just so people know the history or the historical settings where government pays attention to certain things, or when government becomes active, in quotes, on things that might affect us. President Clinton was the first president basically after the Cold War, which sort of officially ended his predecessor's term in 1989, 1990. So in December 1993, excuse me, to the end of his before the end of his first year of office, the Secretary of Energy became interested in human radiation experiments from the Cold War, from the past number of decades. So that was the 90s. So they were interested in everything from the 50s and maybe 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. And they started you could say, looking up things. Actually, as part of that process, they actually had a radiation victims hotline. It was mainly for people who were victims of radiation experiments using ionizing radiation, radioactive substances, but also other people were invited as well, I guess. And I did call that hotline. I got a hotline number from them, whatever. So that was sort of the start of this process that Senator Glenn ended up taking attention to. So the following month, in early January 1994, Senator Glenn announced called for a government-wide review of all human experimentation involving the federal government. So at the time, he was head of the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee. He was chairman, so he's able to call for such a review. And he held his hearing. I guess maybe it was the only hearing. I don't know. Hearing on that subject toward the end of the month. It was January 25, 1994. So I read that announcement of his from early January in the New York Times, and so I gotta participate in this review, whatever. So I learned of the hearing, and I went down to Washington. It's like 250 miles from where I live. I was living then. So I was one of a few victims who attended that hearing. After the hearing, one of the victims was handing out some flyers or something. She was actually a victim who came from California.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she might still be alive. She was a victim from way from like the late 1990s. So that's how I started learning of other victims when she was handing out her stuff, and I handed to her my own testimony page that I had submitted to the committee, Senator Glenn's committee. So that's how I started learning of a victim. She told me of a few other victims. She told me about Han Gerard and Julian McKinney and another victim or so. And so that evening when I got home, I drove home 4 or 5 hours. I called on the phone the first victims who I had met, aside from this victim at the hearing. So that's how I started learning of the other victims.
It must have felt, it must have felt comforting to know that you were able to connect with others that knew what you were going through by their own shared experience of what they were going through. I know for me, when I was doing research and I saw that there were others reporting it, you just don't ever forget that feeling of confirmation, because you go through, second guessing yourself and maybe internalizing it, thinking that maybe something is going on, with you. And once you find that confirmation, it really does help. And then to have that acknowledgement, because we know all too many are very rejective to hear about these things. It's too much for them to bear and to comprehend. So in your advocacy, you also, you had mentioned the flyers. It's been over 15,000 flyers in the major cities, from began in 1994 all the way through, the 2000s. Can you share a pivotal moment from these advocacy efforts that felt particularly impactful for you or the community?
I don't know. I guess I felt that you could see the flyers on my website. I should bring it up if I can here. If I bring up something on my screen, Melissa, will you be able to see it, or?
There should be a share where you see it says present, and then if you click on that, and then you would need to do a share screen.
Okay, I'm seeing it. There's a bottom of the screen. Is it above the bottom of the screen? Where is it? I see uploading recordings. You're in the show. Present. Which one is it? Sorry.
Well, let me see if I can. Why don't I try to bring it up? I believe I had your website up. Hold on just a moment. Let me see if I still have it up there. If not, I can open it up right quick. Might be easier since I'm used to doing this. Okay, so let me.
Yeah, because I want to narrate my experience with handing out these flyers. I want to show.
Okay.
Show it.
Okay, let's see.
I see an icon that has a dot in it.
Yeah, let me close.
Is that it? Oh, this is it. I get no.
Yes.
I got it. I found it, Melissa.
Okay.
It says share. Yeah, it's this little icon that has a plus in the middle of it. Whatever. Okay.
Okay, but do you see it up on the screen? You should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Hold on.
Yeah, but do you see it? I'm sharing your website right now.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Here it goes. Come on. Okay. Here. And my flyer. Bring this one up. Why not? Okay. It's small. Fine. Okay. I'll share it.
Okay. Yeah, I had it up. I think others had seen it, but are you able to? Are you sharing now?
Okay, yeah, I'll bring it right now. Hold on, let me get to your. Okay, share screen. Okay, share screen. Okay, share screen. Okay. Okay, here. So this is my this is my this is my flyer there.
I don't see
You
anything.
don't see it. Okay.
Do you
I
have
gotta
multiple monitors,
I
maybe?
gotta go back. No, I don't. Okay, choose what you want to select the tab. Okay, here. I see it. I had to select the tab that I'm sharing. Okay, you got it?
Yes. Now
Okay.
let me add it to the stage. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, that's good. Um, so, um, so I would stand on. So I handed out these flyers. So you said 15,000 flyers. It wasn't exactly that. It was 10 copies of 10,000 flyers before each of the 1994,
Oh,
1996, 1998, and year 2000 U.S. elections. So that was like from either May or July or August through late October, early November, whatever before the election. Um, and shoot, and I would hand out 10,000 copies of flyers before those four elections and 5,000 copies of flyers before the 2004 elections. Didn't get me anywhere that one, but so this is what the flyer looked like, and so I would standing out. Um, I don't want it to look like it's critical here. This flyer, this is the 2004 flyer, looks a little critical, but whatever.
and,
It
and
wasn't.
it's filled with lots of information, and you have lots
Yeah,
of article references. I urge the community to check out Norman's website because you will definitely learn something that you have not learned before, because there is a wealth of information out there, lots of article references, which were very important, and passing out flyers and getting something tangible for the viewer and receiver of the flyer to reference back to, because again, the information is newly introduced and people can be just naturally non-receptive. But when you see all of these articles referenced within the flyer itself, it puts the tangible reality that this is out there and has been out there.
okay. So I just wanted to describe the flyers and the response that I got from the public. So so the idea of these flyers was for the public to ask the government to complete this federal policy change to require informed consent for classified human research. Um, uh, so, I was standing at the corner saying, illegal human experiments by the U.S. government. Please help petition our government to stop this crime. So I'd be saying that 1,000 times or whatever, handing people the flyers. Had a nice letter from my congressman that I included in the flyer. I had some other information, and then at the end of the flyer, I had a mini petition where people could sign the name, or I had five spaces. Here I got 4 on this one for people to sign a mini petition for people to sign the name to say, I urge you to place among your priorities stoppage of non-consensual U.S. classified research, experimentation, etc. So the idea is to just be very simple with it, but informative, to say, oh, it involves non-consensual experiments. They don't have a rule to require informed consent. And where I cited Senator Glenn, I think that was helpful to say so the flyer says, in 1997, Senator John Glenn attempted to outlaw non-consensual human experiments, including classified human research, and he spoke of gaps and said, under current rule and executive order, you can waive informed consent and IRB review of U.S. classified human research. So I was trying to get the public, to complain to the government, to them to do something. So that's the idea of these flyers. I had a good response. Let me get back to the video, I guess, here. Stop sharing or whatever. So So I had a positive experience from the public. A lot of people, I guess, believed it. Some people maybe, totally didn't, but a lot of people believe things. They know there's new science and technology all the time. So in that way, as long as you're not claiming something, totally crazy, you're just saying, oh, they have technology that they're doing non-consensual testing, and they're monitoring my brain and body and my thoughts, whatever. And you're asking them something. You're not asking them to give you money. You're asking them to, hey, tell the government to stop this. Tell the government to make a rule or a law or regulation to say that, this shouldn't be able to happen. Your citizens, the government requires informed consent for any kind of thing like this.
Right.
So that's the idea. I had a positive response from the public. Sometimes I would meet either victims or sometimes government employees of some sort, and they would, they might not be so surprised that the government, like someone who's in the military. So if the government wanted to, they'll just put up a satellite. They'll put up a nuclear powered satellite, and they'll do what they want. He thought, big deal. Not big deal, but they'll do what they want to test what they want. So even a nuclear powered satellite, to me, you put nuclear material in space, so what? Big deal, So he was in the Navy.
It does feel like at times that the government views us as their property that they can do what they want to with at any time without our consent. Unfortunately, I mean that's not the way things should be. I do see that there was a comment here I wanted to bring up for you, Norman. Targeted one says Norman was most likely targeted to idea harvest his mind since he was a programmer. And then the second part was working on medical devices. Do you feel like that was the case? Now, one thing that we did mention, once you had read the PhD's paper, you later learned that the PhD that wrote that paper, that technical mathematical paper, had association with several different projects with the Department of Defense. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess maybe it was trying to think back, maybe it was a year or a year and a half late after I read the paper that I learned that the author of the paper had done Defense Department projects, and I didn't put two and two together. That I had no idea that there was technology that could manipulate me or harm me in any way. I didn't know anything about it, but it was only afterward. So I didn't know that this was a government connected paper at all at the time I read it. I only learned later on, and this person applied. I guess he had at least one Department of Defense project that he applied his mathematical ideas to. So
yes,
I would say, I wouldn't say.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to answer the fellow victims' question. I wouldn't say that there. I guess early on, I felt there was I had the idea that there may be some. I had the idea of that there might be some kind of idea harvesting or stealing of ideas, but I never. I guess eventually it fell away as not so likely, not so important. What do they do? Maybe they're. I don't know what they gain out of it. The big picture is they're learning how people's minds work in all kinds of ways. So if you have a random, I don't want to say terrorist, but a random person who they feel they need to watch, whether, let's say, for argument's sake, if you had a hostage situation, we had 5 terrorists keeping a room of 30 hostages as prisoners, whatever, and they definitely want if you were in the government, you would definitely want the capacity to be able to set your technology on this situation to say, okay, we really quickly figure out what's going on, who we could pick off, which door to enter, which of the terrorists are less likely to take a gun and just start shooting, and how maybe they could interact with some of the the hostages, if they need to tell them, duck under a desk, we're going to do a raid, get ready to duck, whatever. So the governmental need is to be able to understand someone's mind really, really quickly as you can, and to know the kind of things that go on in people's minds. And as in a lesser urgent or lesser dangerous situation, I guess if they had someone who was a prospective, I don't know, terrorist or someone who was going to do something, maybe not a terroristic per se, some kind of activist activity, maybe they would want to be able to watch them and make sure that they don't cause some kind of deaths or whatever. They just I don't want to say, more benignly interact with the situation. So they want to be able to watch anybody. Let's say they never met you before, and if you were going to I don't know, if you're going to an event or you're in a situation where they want to learn about you, or what's on your mind. Maybe you're even, for argument's sake, let's say you're at a rally that Trump is at. They want to know you're a friend or foe, whatever, or I don't know. They might want to just quickly categorize you, or no, did you ever go hunting? Did you ever use a weapon? I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably they have many details on any given person once they set their eye or connection to them. So if we're like little computers, they're checking into, dialing into, and our brain is just like a computer, right? It houses everything that's ever happened to us. Our beliefs and our fears and traumas, all of that. And then they take that information and they weld it against us for manipulation. In your case, maybe you were perceived as a threat for the sensitive information, what they deem sensitive, and maybe they felt like, due to your intellectual capacity and like you said, you were making notes and such, they were trying to, they perceived it as a threat, right? But you were innocently, it was about curiosity and learning the information and digesting it. It was something new. And like you said, you had downtime and you were interested in just to reading about it, but had no ill intention to do anything with the information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to describe a moonshot, that the government has a moonshot type of project to really to have a comprehensive surveillance, behavioral and thought and mental life watching system. So I guess I'm different. The kind of descriptions of Robert Duncan were, I don't know, were maybe for military utility usages, but I'm describing a different type of system, a different type of goal. So they want to be able to be able to figure out the human mind. So if they never saw you before, Melissa, and they want to know something, they want to be able to understand Melissa within the first hour as best they can, because she's going to be in an event with a senator or whatever. I'm just for argument's sake or whatever. So they want to understand something about how you think, or they want to understand human behavior in general, in quotes. And you are one instance of, we're predicting certain things about how Melissa thinks based upon certain other people who have some similar character. Oh, they're all from Texas. They share some career commonalities and maybe some other personal background growing up or whatever. So they want to be able to quickly understand any human being relatively quickly.
Like predictive modeling based off of Melissa and these personality traits and background, all within the super mega data bank, compared up against others. The probable next action or the probable outcome would be based off of this analysis, right? This is how they, like you said, I think that that's what these mega bank, I think all of our information and and they measure us. I think those that have, are, you know, persistent in their outreach and not, withdrawing and being isolated, they tune into, okay, what is the commonalities in these individuals who continue to not buy into this and to recoil versus, okay, the set that may be and, chose differently. All of this is just like you said, it's a bunch of analytics based off of, they continue to feed the data bank for the analysis. I think it really is a lot of predictive modeling on human behavior. So they take backgrounds, people with similar backgrounds or experiences or traumas or significant events, and how do they measure up to this type of surveillance and manipulation. And it's just, one experiment and data gathering after another. And I think Dr. Duncan had said, they're perfecting the craft because, the future is not on the battlefield, but it's all in the, cognitive battle, right? You can do cognitive, but it is also about learning, like you said, how the wiring and the mechanics of, how people respond when introduced to this type of manipulation and trauma and control. It may even get down as sophisticated of comparing, those being targeted by blood type. I mean, there's just so many different, ways to slice and dice all of this information. And I'm sure that they've already got that all computed. So, okay, people with this blood type seem to gravitate toward, these responses in these situations versus those. I think it's a big data collection. And, of course, we're at the brunt end of it because our body is violated. They've, intercepted our mind and our thoughts, and they do all of these things for measurements.
Yeah, Melissa, my opinion, I don't know about the, what will you call it? The having all encompassing parameters to learn about, let's say, they do know people's blood types. I'm sure they know many people's blood types just from learning about it. I don't know whether they reach comprehensively for anything and everything. I do suspect that they do have a core interest, that their project really, a lot of it is about understanding human behavior and cognitive life of different people. That's my personal take on it. We also wanted to just to say to the person who feels his wine is being harvested, I hope they're not discouraging you, even in that context, from going ahead and inventing and doing whatever invention you want. Don't be intimidated to think, oh, they got my ideas anyway, it's not worth it to patent it, whatever. No, you should go along with them, maybe saying, hey, okay, you're watching me, and I hope you don't steal my ideas while I'm doing it, but you're going to watch me as I develop this idea, and I'm going to go forward with it. I hope you don't steal from me as I'm doing it, but I'm going to follow through with it anyway.
Absolutely, we should continue to strive and to feel, we have to value ourselves and our lives and not let them deter us and from moving forward, because that would be the perfect scenario for them, is if we just gave up and we didn't fight back and that we didn't live our lives. I refuse to let this experience defeat me, and I push myself to make measurable steps. So I just look back and I think back from when it began, and I see where I've continued. The needle of progression has continued to move. This experience probably was a catalyst for me trying new things, because I was very much an introvert, and And this made me a little bit more extrovert, because you have to fight back and get out there and continue. I know that I want to touch base on too that you've been very, deeply involved in federal rulemaking challenges, including the 2015 NPRM and your 2023 case. Can you explain in general terms what these efforts aim to achieve for victims without, naming specifics, but just generally on the rulemaking?
Okay, what I'd really want to do, maybe you need a show or an episode of Anna Luda's show about law. So I would really want to give like a little civics, I don't want to say lesson or explanation about government. I know that as a victim, it's hard to believe that there's any laws that are involved, whatever. But the truth is, our country is under a rule of law. In our case, yes, we have a complication in that we're victims of things under secrecy, and the government doesn't do things in a normal way concerning that. Even if they have some kind of details that I don't even know about, we don't know how they do it. So the Snowden scandal gives you a clue that there are some real problems on people trying to correct things that are going on under secrecy in a system way without something crazy. Oh, this guy went to Russia and he publicized it on WikiLeaks and whatever. It just shows that there's something wrong with our system that he wasn't able to say, hey, I know I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to these 3 congressional committees. I'm going to go to these 4 U.S. government whistleblower offices, and including FBI, whatever, and I'll be protected to some degree as a whistleblower under so and such laws. That's what should have happened in this case. He should have been able to had his things that he spotted to be taken seriously, to be addressed, even get some press exposure. I don't know. But instead, he felt that I can't expose this any other way than to go to Russia or whatever. So we're not in the main ballpark of how U.S. laws and regulations operate. However, we are fortunate in that there's a legal history that is in our favor, sort of. So back in the day, when Congress made these laws about human experimentation, this was after the Tuskegee experiment first came out. That was the summer of 1972, and it's very scary. The fact that this Tuskegee scandal, if people don't know about it, the Tuskegee experiment was a U.S. public health, Public Health Service experiment over 40 years, not 10 years, 40 years, from 1932 until it was stopped due to press exposure in 1972 of these African Americans who had syphilis. Actually, in the study, there were 600 study subjects. 400 had syphilis or symptoms of syphilis, and 200 were controls. They didn't have syphilis or anything. So the government treated them as human experimentees without their proper consent. They offered them, you got syphilis. We're going to give you occasional medical exams and whatever. And they signed up for this. But in the 1940s, when syphilis developed, there was a cure. When penicillin became a cure for syphilis, and in fact, they didn't tell these people, hey, there's a cure for syphilis. The study that we were doing on you is now over or transformed because we got to treat you with this. No, they kept watching them suffer from syphilis for another 30 years. So this thing got exposed in the New York, the AP exposed it in the New York Times. The scary thing in our case is it was just because of one former employee of the Public Health Service who was in law school at the time in California. He he had heard of this experiment and didn't like the sound of it. He thought, oh, this is not ethical. And he kept sort of prying or complaining about it. And eventually he wasn't getting any change from the Public Health Service of their program. And he went to the AP, the Associated Press. And so they made a news story of it, became a national scandal. And that's how we got these laws for human experiments, which are supposed to impact us. So Tuskegee didn't have anything to do with us per se, but it did start the first set of laws that supposed to protect human subjects. So Congress made a law making a national commission that was reviewing all HHS research, but they were also empowered to review the policy of other agencies as well, and to make recommendations to Congress, not to the agencies themselves yet, but to Congress about any problems that the people were protected or not. So fortunate for us, there was a follow-up to this law, this National Research Act of 1974. It was the same Senate committee under Senator Kennedy. He's the uncle of the current HHS Secretary, Senator Edward Kennedy. His committee studied human experiments of other agencies, including the CIA and the Army. I think the Army especially, doing non-consensual LSD testing. So this was part of MK Ultra, or at least the LSD testing part of MK Ultra. And so from that, they made a law creating a national commission, which was empowered to review research from all agencies and to make recommendations. Fortunately for us, that second commission was empowered to review classified human research as well. They were given explicit permission to have expedited clearances, whatever. So the legal history shows that, everybody's supposed to be protected, whether it's HHS research, or even Pentagon, or even classified research. Everybody's supposed to be protected. So that's our sort of lookout. We're able to say, hey, you might think this is classified, but did you know that Congress said that all agency research citizens are supposed to be protected from all agency research, including classified research? Did you know that? And you should tell your congressman, your senator that, and they'll say, hey, you're right. We had a law that says that, and maybe they'll do it. They'll be able to pry and do a follow-up. That's all we could hope for.
Right.
So we're not totally lost because of the fact that this is classified. Rather, we have a little handle to say, hey, way back when in the 70s, they foresaw that all agencies, even classified human studies, should have proper protections. So we have a little hope. And so the way that we want both laws and regulations. There's a little law I should have put this out. I didn't have the proper time to do it. I should have had it. So there's a little law in 1974. No, excuse me, 1984. Out of nowhere. Let me get it up on the screen. 10 U.S. Code. Excuse me. I'll get it up on the screen. You're not seeing my screen, are you now?
No, I have a slide up that was talking about, what you were mentioning, the 1974 law that was the first of two major laws about human subjects protection after the U.S. government Tuskegee experiment scandal. And then there is a reference that states that in July of 24, you organized a victims petition to the U.S. government upon the 50th anniversary of the National Research Act of 1974. And Targeted Justice had promoted that, and over 225 U.S. victims of ongoing non-consensual human research participated. And there is a map on the screen, and it is of the U.S., showing that of those 225 plus victims of this non-consensual human research, you can see the dots of those that participated and how widespread it is across the United States in that participation.
Yeah, we're all you victims are all over the place here. See,
and outside of the states. So many outside of the states.
So you want to put up this little law there, the screen share I suggested to try to.
Okay, let me take a look here. Oh, yes, here we go. Let me remove the current, and we'll bring up the one you have.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, so this law, this is like a law out of nowhere. So this is one type of law that we need. We need things like this, but we need even, expanded laws like this without any kind of possible loopholes. So let me magnify this a bit. So here, so out of nowhere, so I looked in legislative history. I didn't see any proposal for this law. It was inserted into a Defense Department bill by the then chairman of the Armed Services Committee, Senator John Tower of Texas, actually. So he inserted this little law there out of nowhere in 1984 that says funds appropriated to DOD may not be used for research involving human beings unless the informed consent of the human subjects in advance. So I don't know how they're doing. I don't know how they're doing the non-consensual testing on us victims. I really don't know how what agencies they're funding it under. You would think that, this is got to be under DOD or Central Intelligence or something. Well, the other intelligence agencies are under DOD, I guess. But this doesn't. This isn't conclusive. We really need for this law to be expanded and say, okay, funds appropriated to all agencies may not be used to involve. We need a law like that, and we also need the regulations to clearly state, as I tried to petition the government with. We need the federal policy changes that President Clinton, that President Clinton tried to get passed to require informed consent for all classified human research from this committee recommendation that I provided this committee. I was one of many people who provided information. So that's how laws and regulations can affect us. If we have specific laws that touch these areas, then we have a fight. We have a chance. We're still sort of at a loss and sabotage because this stuff is, classified, proprietary. We need some other types of laws that allow us, that create offices in government to systematize, to give people a place to go to. You could, even if you have a complaint about Defense Department research or CIA research, we got an office that you can go to and make a complaint and get a receipt, and you could bring your lawyer there sometime and whatever. And, people to be treated with respect and with some kind of system, even if let's say you got a crazy person, just for argument's sake, at least they'll be able to take that. Okay, we're obligated to look into this. We think you actually have a psychological situation there, but please, we respect you as a human being. We suggest you try to have the appropriate brain scans to see anything that's really there. You might have some real brain-based issue, but we will investigate sincerely on behalf of you as a citizen. You're a citizen. We value our citizens, whether you're healthy, whether you might not be so healthy, and to have a process for this stuff. So that's another challenge we face. Our country doesn't have something like that. We have no bridge between citizens and the so-called secrecy of people to say, hey, I'm being abused by people, working in these, whether it's just say FBI or whatever, or NSA, whatever. I'm being abused by this. I want to complain about something and have something reasonable. I'm not at war with you. You shouldn't feel you're at war with me. And to have something that feels like America. It doesn't feel like some kind of some kind of regime that you're reading about in a spy novel or some kind of European tragedy.
Yeah, it seems like the classified nature of the sophisticated technology is where we get lost. Nobody will acknowledge us because of that. And like you said, you know, how they have perceived what laws are published, they get away with it due to that classified nature, these unacknowledged special access programs. There's just, if there was transparency of what was going on, that, you know, that people were being put into these, then that would also admit that it's there. So that's the catch 22 out there with us, is they don't want to acknowledge these classified programs. And out of, you know, but then no human should be just automatically enrolled into them. There's no due diligence process in any of this for whatever reason that they can cook up to put us into this program. And, you know, whether there's so many different avenues that it could take. Now, you did mention you want to make some comments about the 2008 project that you worked on with Jonathan Henderson. That was the thermal scanning project that scanned victims on the East Coast. So were there any interesting findings when you had hosted and organized this event for Jonathan? Were you able to learn some things from these scans?
Yeah, I was a little interested. We had some nice participation in New York City, some people also in Washington, D.C. area, and also some people in the Boston area, and some people here and in between. But I guess the one interest. So he was just a person who had an idea. He happened to have a medium end, whatever, a nice thermal imaging camera, and he has idea. Oh, I want to take pictures of victims with this, and so it turns out that that some victims think hotspots show up, abnormal hotspots that shouldn't be there. Okay, and other victims they don't. I don't know what the numbers were. There were 30%. They didn't show up. For me, it didn't show up. And it sort of makes sense that it didn't show up for me, in that they've been on me so long. I feel they perfected their signals. They over time they're customizing the signal to precisely match your own body's response, electromagnetic signals response characteristics. So they got you down, so to speak. So they know your neurology down to a pin drop, whatever, a point of a pin. But for victims who are, let's say, newer, let's say, oh, I was just on this person a few years, and they don't quite have all the signals so perfected on them. So maybe there are some hot spots on them. They didn't. It comes out of hot spots because there's some energy loss. It's a principle of physics that. So I wanted to do we don't have time for it, but some explanations, some physics that people know about, that you know about, that I know about, that relate to our case. So one analogy is when you tune a radio, if you tune it precisely, and let's say the radio station isn't so far away, if you turn it super precisely to the station, you get low static, and you could turn the volume down and you could hear it with lower power. So sort of similar to that, if the government is able to precisely know your neurological systems, your brain's electromagnetics response characteristics very finely, they can dial down the power of their transmitting signal. They'll just, we got station Norman, so to speak, precisely tuned, and they just have a very, very low power signal passing through my head or my body and intercepting what they need to intercept, and that's all they need. They don't need a high powered signal passing through my body. They don't need a high-powered radio station. You don't need to have the volume turned up on your radio. All you need is a very precisely tuned radio, where the things that are receiving the electromagnetic signals are precisely matching the transmitted signal. So Uh,
With you, because you've had the V2K for almost 35 years now, do you ever get the where you feel like one side of your head or the other, like you get hit with you could feel the bodily hit on one side or the other, and then like ringing that kind of just mushrooms out, like, and then once that ringing uh, evolves, then a burning sensation or heating of the head. I get that from time to time. One side is more active than the other, like the left side. But to me, it almost feels like, because with the V2K, it's almost like different connections, meaning that, okay, here's a new connection, here's your static connection of the 24/7 monitoring and the surveillance, but then a new connection comes in to take a peek. I That's kind of how I perceive it. And like when I speak, or I can hear like my ear popping because of the thermoelastic effect of when from that hit, that connection that comes in. Do you get anything similar to that?
I don't get anything that I would call thermoelastic effect. I would say that they have a very consistent um, head acoustics, if you will call it that, on my head. I don't know if you saw the early Dr. Frey paper about the auditory, the microwave auditory effect. So there's a classic picture that shows a picture of the head. You should almost get up on the screen there. So just like the picture shows, that's what it feels like for me. It comes out like right about here, this part of the head, just above the ears. So it's in one ear, and the other ear, it's like it feels like I'm in stereo, or they're projecting the voice so that it feels like it's in stereo, but it feels like it's coming out here on either side, on both sides of the ear, the skull just above the center top of the ear. So I have this consistent. You could say that I maybe have also have there is a tinnitus type of tone, constant, like high pitched tone that's always in the background that I sort of mentally filter out. But so for me, it's just very consistent. I don't get this what I would call a thermal expansion. I don't feel anything like that. They do have a capacity to do head acoustics if they want. They can throw a voice so that I perceive it as coming from this part of this front of the head, back of the head, right, left, whatever. They can do that. There is such a thing as head acoustics, so to speak, but that's not the main sensation. The main sensation is as if I have a pair of headphones, but there are no headphones, and they're just, as I said, on either side of the head, just above the center of each ear, on each side of the skull. So that's what I get.
And with the third, you've had this the voice to skull transmission for so long. I know that the community would love to hear about any strategies that have helped you cope from day to day, and what you might suggest to others facing the similar challenge.
Oh, there's another science concept that relates to sleep. So I guess during the day I don't do too much to shield myself. Sometimes, very rarely, if I'm under attack by something atypical, typically not under some kind of weapon attack. But if I am, here I'll bring out my what I call
Your notebooks?
My model covered notebooks here. I have them here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so here, these are my model covered notebooks. These are just college ruled 120-page whatever notebooks. I think it's helpful. It seems to make a difference so there's a difference between if I just have a notebook and just a piece of cardboard. So this, I get better results from this, which is wrapped a few more times, I guess. But this notebook, I get better results than but there's some scientific things that go on. So firstly, I don't use it during the daytime. Only rarely, if I'm attacked by something, maybe I'll do something like this and say, "Oh, there's a satellite attacking me." To the thoughtful eyes to the surveillance people, please move that satellite there, or whatever. So there's a satellite. I'll triangulate it. I'll call it. Oh, this is a satellite to the west at about 35 degrees vertical. Get that satellite off of me. It has a radiative energy at my brain. Get it off of me. It's not a good. And sometimes I'll label a satellite. Oh, that's a military battle station satellite. If it feels that way, it feels something really powerful thing. So here. I'm actually right now. I'm blocking the signal that I perceive on my body, on my head. So I'm not just I'm not just making as if this is a real thing right now. Okay, I'm actually blocking the signal aimed at me. So there's a little signal here. So this is to the east-northeast. It's about 45, 50 degrees from vertical, maybe at my head somehow, and get it off of me. So that's the second satellite. Let's see what else do I get here right now.
So are you feeling the connection of it when you're holding those up, or how are you determining?
When you see me reposition them, I'm repositioning them until I'm blocking. I'm interfering with the signal. So at first I don't know where exactly the signal is. I don't know the correct orientation. So these signals apparently sometimes or maybe all the time, maybe they're polarized. So they have a certain orientation this way, that way. You don't know how they're oriented. I don't know the science of it exactly, but that's how it apparently is. So so you can't just expect, oh, I tried this, Norman, it didn't work for me. No, you got to play around with it. Oh, I had to do this, I had to do that, because you don't know how the signal is shaped. It could have this orientation, that orientation, and until your shielding material matches the direction of their signal to be almost parallel with it, you won't get the shielding result, the blocking result that you're looking for.
So once you do find out, position wise where that signal is coming from, and you block it, do you feel, how long of a relief do you have from it?
So sometimes when I do it, sometimes when I do that, I might write it down. I'll take my pen. So I'll write down just what I said. Oh, there's a satellite to the northwest, 35 degrees vertical, whatever. But also, I thoughtfully it, and from my just holding it there, sometimes the government will I guess back off that signal because they've sort of been detected. Maybe there's someone watching. I don't know, the Russians. Maybe somebody's watching somehow and say, "Oh, your signals have someone caught your signal." Government, you're now visible to people. Stop that because you're too obvious. Norman's catching you and he's reflecting your signal, and someone who watched you. Stop that. You're being detected. It seems that sometimes happen. So they for whatever reason, or they just say, okay, Norman, fair game. You caught our signal with your little notebook, your stupid little milder notebooks, and therefore, okay, we're not requiring you to have a more advanced setup, Norman. Okay, that's enough. You won on that one. We're taking away that signal for now at that location. We're still attacked from the other direction, but whatever. So I can't use these in the daytime. I don't have if I had a robot, maybe I would hire a robot to hold these things, the Mylar covered notebooks above my head. So I was gonna get my hold on. I was gonna try to reach here. I have a big roll of Mylar. This is thick Mylar. There are different grades of Mylar. So this is like I think maybe 0.004 whatever, or 0.2. I don't know.
And you said versus cardboard that you've tried with it as well. These, maybe it's just the spiral on it. The wiring of the spiral might be something that makes it a better difference with the notebooks.
The spiral, I don't think does anything. Maybe it even gets in the way of my taping.
Yeah.
But I keep it anyway. I don't know. I just prefer. We usually use. I have spiral notebooks that I keep notes on my actions and the government. Oh, I started my sleep time there. They did this. They kept me awake this span or whatever. So I'll jot things down in my notebooks. So I just have spiral notebooks over years and years as a victim. And if they ever let me go, I'll hand it into DOJ and say, here, I want the, I want $1 for every, no, I want damages for everything. So, but I'm sure they have it all computerized that they give me a chart. Oh, we know exactly what we targeted you each year. We'll give you the most beautiful graph you want, Norman. But,
well, I mean, this is a good example, of we have to be creative in trying to block attacks and counter these attacks. And what works for one may not work for another, but that's why we got to experiment and find something that helps. So I appreciate you sharing that with the community, because when you're looking for different options, and sometimes one option might work for a while and then they try something different. So it's always good to have, examples of what others are doing in the community to shield and to mitigate some of these signals that are being thrown at us. So
Melissa, I wanted to explain though.
Sure.
So I really can't use these during waking hours to block signals, but when a person's asleep, and there's some science here that I wanted to explain. So when a lot of victims, I don't know what percentage, use some kind of shielding materials to surround their heads with metallics of various types, whether it's pots and pans, whatever it is, whether it's mild covered notebooks, during the sleep time. So each night, each sleep time, I surround my head with some materials such as these. I also sometimes I keep one of these in a pillowcase. So I'll have these on the side of my face, and I'll also have one of these inserted in a pillowcase. And so the soft side of the pillowcase is against my head or whatever, and the harder side is on the other side of the pillowcase, whatever. So I'll surround my head with that, and also this shielding material. This is a Lamb's. It's one of the brands of these beanies. These
right, yeah. I have one of those too. Mm-hmm.
You have Lambs also, or?
Yes, Lambs.
Okay, yeah. It has a positive effect. I don't know. I feel a little quiet, mental quiet when I have it on. But anyways, so I keep it on the side of my face. It's sort of tight around the head, but I keep it on the side of my head. It's around this way, whatever. So the idea of these things, though, there's a science idea that I want to explain for people for you to appreciate. So they can really interfere with your brain's learning while you're asleep by attacking your brain and your brain's time-sensitive neurotransmitter process during sleep. When you're asleep, your brain is doing all kinds of upkeep, all kinds of God's gift to humans, the gift of human memory and consolidation of memory. And there's a process involved there. Neurotransmitter, you're converting short-term memories into medium-term and then eventually longer-term memories. And there are certain time-sensitive processes there. So if the government were to be manipulating your brain during those time-sensitive processes, you're not going to learn so well. Your brain, your memories aren't going to consolidate as well. You're not going to learn. You might go to school and you won't do so well. So if you're able to interfere at least to some amount with that real-time process of their touching your brain while you're asleep, while your brain's trying to do serious stuff, to consolidate memories, you're helping yourself a lot, because you're slowing down. So the signal is going here, it's eventually reaching your body and brain, whatever, but you're slowing it down. You're interfering with a pathway that their real-time process wants to go boom to you, bounce off the ground, back to the satellite, into the computer. Computer figures out what to do and attack the next brain cycle quick. So if you happen to have your signal there and they wait, the signal blackened and it has to go a different route, and you're slowing it down. And
yes, exactly. That's what we have to do. We have to get creative and slow it down and lessen the attack on us, for certain.
it's really crucial. I went through some bad stuff with that, where I was taking some college courses and I couldn't learn, but I've been using these, I don't know, since 2000, surrounding my head with conductive stuff since, I don't know whether it's 2012 or whatever year it was. And it's made a difference. I could put things together, not perfectly, but I do learn, and it's better than nothing. I do learn a lot over time, and just keep at it.
Yes, I mean that's the key. You just have to keep at it. Some days may be better than others, but just continue to try. That's the most. So, in the information that you provided, you had emphasized the need for victims to work together as both leaders and followers. What's one example of a collective effort? Like, what one example would have been that 2008 thermal scanning project that you found inspiring, and why? It's so important that we, interact and engage with each other.
It was a good attempt. Eventually, I think Jonathan looked for some outside experts, and he didn't find what he wanted. So we ideally wanted some kind of medical, some kind of medical professional, or someone whose professional experience includes interpreting thermal body scans or thermal head scans. There are some practicing doctors who their job is to interpret thermal imaging, medical purpose thermal imaging scans. But so it was a good attempt. We didn't get the ideal thing would have been for us to have had, for him to, or somebody to have attempted to publish a paper to say, oh, we found this and that, and the so and such percentage of victims had thermal phenomenon on their heads that is not normal and whatever. But we didn't reach that. But at least it's better than going some part of the way than going none of the way. And it was a good initiative by this person in California who wanted to do it, and I tried to help out. There are other instances where victims have projects. A few years ago, trying to think of the person who organized it, who did it. I think it was someone in association with Derek's group. I'm not sure who did it. I could look it up quickly on my email. It was a little project of joint complaints by email to the U.S. Attorney General. And I thought that was a good project at that time. So we jointly, at one particular time, we put in a complaint. Here we are, victims of this, and each person had their own description of what they're targeted by. And I thought that was a good project too. If we're organized and we have a collection of projects, and even if we haven't done it yet as a community, if we develop a portfolio of our presentations to government, maybe that could make a little impact, a little stronger showing to not pressure, to persuade people in government to say, oh, we got to take this up. These people have been complaining, and people aren't looking into it enough. We really got to do it in an organized way. Back in 2000, I wish we had, I don't have the picture of it. Oh boy, nobody has a picture online of it. Back in June of 2006, Derek's group at the time, it was Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance, in conjunction with some other persons. Actually, one victim especially was involved in organizing it. So it wasn't just Derek himself, it was somebody else. So we had a project. Oh, we also had the participation of, excuse me, there my brain here, excuse me, I gotta search.
No. Oh, and it's okay. there's so much to cover here, and we're getting up to close to, the 2 hours, but definitely if you reach out with that information to me, I can get it out to the community on my social media account. What in
Yeah. Let me just say really quickly, because this is one of the nicest little successes that we had as a victims group. So back in June 2006, similarly as Targeted Justice recently went to Washington and met with all kinds of congressional delegations. So a bunch of victims also met with a number of congressional delegations. Then they did it with the participation of Ted Gunderson. So he was one of the persons who helped us with a legislative packet. So they approached different offices with this legislative package saying, "Oh, make laws for this. Victims want protection from these weapons and non-consensual testing," and so they did that from like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe that particular in June 2006, and then there was a victims press conference, and some members of the press went to it. And then the next day we had a victims rally in Washington. So that was a success in a few ways. We did get some press coverage in the Washington Post Sunday magazine. They eventually covered 7 months later in January 14, 2007. They had a cover story article on us victims, basically mind wars or whatever it is. And they covered Han Gerard and Derek Robinson as their featured person in this article. They also had pictures from our rally that I was. They didn't have a picture of me there, but they had a picture from the rally there. So it was a nice try. The unfortunate thing, Congress didn't take them up on it. It was just, hey, Washington Post has an article on this. Who cares? They didn't do anything with it. So I don't know what moves Congress, but it was done. It was done the right way. We should do that every few years. I feel we're not just excuse me, not just Richard Lighthouse and Anna and a few other people go to Washington, but we have a wider delegation. And before COVID, Targeted Justice was planning, and they sent out emails on it. It was like December 2019 or January 2020, right before COVID ended up, changing the world. We had planned for victims to contact the Congress in advance, say, "Hey, we're going to have a May rally." So this was like 4 months in advance, and that's how we were going to do it. And we got hit by COVID. So we really should do something like that every few years, I feel, and to have a lobbying and a really well planned in advance approaching of Congress. Hey, could you please do something? This is the real thing. We got these hundreds of victims who have a recourse in law. We need a law or something to protect us. We want the attention of Congress. So I just wanted to communicate.
Yes, and then Targeted Justice has the Targeted Action rally in early September of this year in Washington, D.C., and urging those to come and participate and meet with your state, officials there in Washington, D.C. So we are hoping for good participation in that rally. It's a continuation of their efforts from earlier this year. So, like you said, it's very important for us as a community to continue to make tracks in history that we, and not be, feel defeated, but to keep going forward. What's one piece of wisdom you've gained that you would like to guide newer members of the targeting community? You've dealt with this for a long time. What piece of advice would you have to those that are new and just, beginning to understand, and finding answers to what's happened to them?
I guess I recommend a few things from my long experience. Try to take care of yourself. Just be very, very regularized, eat regular meals, eat healthy food, getting some exercise. Just try to stay healthy. You're under an unnatural situation. Just try to be as regular and as uncontroversial as you can. You might feel, oh, I really like snacks. I really like beer, whatever. You're not in a situation, where you can be the same. You can act the same as everybody else. You sort of have to take cover in some way. So I'm under this unusual situation. I got to try to be very careful about my health. Do everything just very conservatively. Not anything unusual. Just all the normal healthy things that 100 doctors your same height and weight and gender and ethnicity, whatever, would recommend for you. So that's just one. Just keep healthy, and keep busy. Try to keep your life as normal as you can, even though it's not normal. Also, you should recognize, unfortunately, that we are crime victims, unfortunately, and maybe you should look at yourself as just like any other crime victim. Hey, anybody could be a victim of a crime. So what's the future pathway of, try to complain about it regularly. That I'll mention in a second. Try to complain about it regularly and, and recognize not that you have a role in society, but you sort of do. The natural thing is you want your country, your community, your town, your state to be a good place to live. So you just want to say, hey, this happened to me. Tell your federal legislators, but I guess eventually even your state legislators that, hey, this bad thing happened to me. Our country should be a good place where this thing should not be able to happen to other people. And you sort of, unfortunately, you're in a little role like that. I don't like being in that role, but hey, I'm a crime victim. It happened, and you sort of just want to see it through. You want a country. We all want the country to be a good place. So that's a little extra component. And the last thing I would say is just try to be a crime victim the way that you would sort of expect that you would expect others to be crime victims. If you're a crime victim, you expect them to complain at least somewhat regularly in writing to the government, maybe sometimes to the press or something if you're not getting anyone hearing from you. Also, because our victimizations are so unusual, nobody knows about this technology, or it's hard to describe. Try to get some feedback from fellow victims, say or even some non-victims. My mother used to ask. I used to ask her to proofread that. Does this make sense, Mom? Whatever. But depending on your situation, you at least have fellow victims proofreading it to say, "Oh, does this make sense? Is this understandable to you?" Maybe you have some family members who are not dismissive or hostile, whatever, to your description of what's going on to you. Have them read it to say, "Oh, a family member, does this make sense to you?" Or someone maybe a rabbi or a priest or whatever. Yes, no, I wrote up this complaint. Does this make sense to you? Can you understand it? It's important that you try to bridge the communication gap between what you're going through and a technology that nobody knows about. So.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I just have to commend you for all your efforts, and you're a very, like I said in the beginning and the introduction, you're a very important part of the history for us, and you're an example of what resilience and perseverance can achieve, and you're still standing and you're still going, and it hasn't defeated you. So that in itself right there is just such a great testimony. There are others. KC 1620 says, "Thank you, Norman, for all your contributions. God bless you." Again, thank you. I think that you have so much knowledge from your experience and all of the activism that you've done. And your website, again, I ask that people, those that have just joined in later into the episode, let me just bring that up again. It's at the top here where it's www.homestead.com/EM scandal. Lots of information there, examples of flyers, examples that lead good articles, and that Norman has researched. There's lots of research there. And again, I think it was a great idea where you said, maybe an episode on the gavel, and that would be good to be featured on Anna's podcast. But again, it's been such a joy. Darren says also, thank you, Norman. There's been a lot of interaction in our chat today and discussion based off of key points that were made throughout the podcast. So again, is there any final parting words that you'd like to speak to our community and how, in ways that maybe they can engage and, that also inspire the resilience, that quality that you have?
Thanks for having me on your show, Melissa. I wanted to put, I should have logged into you have a few different computer systems here. So I wanted to put my email address in the chat. That's all.
Okay. Yes. And what is your email address? I don't have it right. Well, maybe I can. Let me see if I can get to that quickly here. Let me find it. That way, if anybody has any questions they would like to ask Norman. Do you want me to give the Hotmail email? Is that one okay? Oh, did Norman drop? Uh-oh, it looks like his connection may have dropped. I know there's been, it's been bizarre on this podcast today, but I did find it. So it is N as in Nancy, CR121198 at hotmail.com. Let me go ahead and drop it in the chat as well. You're going to see it post probably about 3 times because I'm on Chosen Hero channels and Targeted Justice, so it always replicates anytime that I respond in the chat. Oh, I think he's back. Let me bring him. Hi, Norman. I was just letting him know your email address, and I'm dropping it in the chat right now.
Okay, yeah, I just was able to log in for this. Okay.
I'm going to let me make sure I get this right. 1, 2, 9, 8. All right, Hotmail. All right, and let me make sure that I put on here that Norman's email. And thank you for offering to, allow the community to reach out to you and answer, questions that they may have and get guidance from you, or if they have questions on, their how they can participate and to create the flyers and the petitions. And we just, as a community, I commend you on all the great achievements that you've had, and the advocacy and the relentlessness in making sure that others learn and become aware of these human experimentations that are being done on us, that is gone unacknowledged far too long, and ways that we can fight back. Do you have any parting words you would like to say before we sign off?
Just were there any questions, specific questions that we didn't address? Let me take a peek here.
Let me take a look. Thank you, Juice Juice. I appreciate the compliment. Let's see. And let's see. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Katya. Nix also says, thank you, Norman. Yes, lots of comments. We've had a lot of discussion back and forth, but again, everyone, if you have a question specifically for Norman, please reach out to him. I posted the email. It's the Hotmail account, and he'll be glad to answer your questions. And Norman, thanks again. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us here today. And we are so grateful for all that you've done and continue to do for this community.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, I just copied the chat. Maybe I'll be able to reply to a few people. I don't know. Some things that some people wrote, I'll be able to maybe.
Do you want to pick one of the comments? We can bring it up on the screen.
I don't know. Maybe just I'll reply individually. Let me just see if there's some kind of wider reaching question that really concerns a lot of people. Let's see.
I can display it on the screen. Just tell me the person, and I will click. I'll bring it on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to speak about technology. That it's just my opinion that one thing the victims community should try to do, if we're capable of it, is to try to, I don't know, to try to have some kind of technology demo to just show that you could pass a signal through the human body and read someone's neurology in even the slightest way. Just, I don't know. We need a little expertise from the victims community to be able to do it, and maybe outside the victims community. But I feel that it's very difficult. The fact that there are no technologies that we could really point to that describe remotely monitoring the human body. There's like nothing. There are articles on some electromagnetic weapons to keep a person awake, some V2K weapons, but the idea of real-time monitoring of a person and their neurology, especially, it's like there's nothing. There's no articles anywhere that I've seen. So,
and based off of wireless, connection, and being able to tap into the biofield and read, tap into central nervous system and brain activity. Is it your opinion? Do you think that it's a combination of different things in terms of connection? I know that you said satellite several times. Do you think that a person has to have a chip or within them, or you think that this technology is so sophisticated, it's a variety of different things? It could be implant, it could be a chip of some sort, or do you think it's remote based with just using satellites as a connection? What are your thoughts on that?
My opinion is that most victims don't have any kind of chip. I think in the modern day, I don't know from what year, there's a possibility that there are some chips out there that some victims somehow got in the bodies. I don't know. But the government doesn't need any kind of chip to monitor your body and brain. You don't need it. During the time of the Persian Gulf War, this is 1990, when they first, I guess, have they made their technology breakthrough to be able to watch someone's body and brain. They were doing somewhat massive, I have every reason to believe this is what they were doing. They did massive testing of this this satellite-based monitoring and thought manipulation. You could say they were enabling themselves to do mind control massively, or developing a brain database to support their big data, so to speak, to support mind control or mind influencing weapons. So they were maybe in total at times monitoring or sampling some people's brains, maybe for, I don't know, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. But I believe they did this across tens of thousands of people, or maybe hundreds of thousands of people at the time. I don't know how wide it was, but it was at least, I believe it was at least thousands or tens of thousands of people. They took took out this technology and just watching the thoughts and doing some mind manipulation. So they had some very advanced stuff in this was the time of the Persian Gulf War, late 1990, that I saw. They don't need a microchip to do this stuff. They don't need it to do it. Let's see. Your other question was, what was your other question?
Well, how about this? What do you, I think now, in this day and age, do you think that there is an element of this nanotechnology that is out there that contributes into this?
I don't know what anyone is doing with nanotechnology. I don't know. I really don't know. I see disadvantages from them having implants in general, and maybe not so much nanotechnology. But if you have implants that are any given size, that's a piece of evidence that eventually they could get caught. There's some kind of potential evidence that someone could have along the way. So by not having implants is convenient because, oh, hey, no evidence, whatever. I don't know about nanotechnologies. Maybe these things just are short term. Maybe, this nanotechnology is going to disintegrate in a month or two in this person's body, and no evidence. I have no idea. I really don't know what goes on in the nanotechnology research world. There are some scary things that you read about, what scientists play with in terms of nanotechnology. I have a biomedical application where I want to take samples of this person's intra-blood metabolics or something using this nanotechnology. It's scary as a victim. It's scary just to hear about, even though it's meant, their applications are meant for conventional medicine. But if someone wanted to use it for a non-conventional medicine, some kind of illegal purpose, I don't know. It's scary to me. I don't know what's going on with that. I would hope that the government would want to make rules to protect people from the possibility of this. Early on, I guess a few decades ago, there was the first instance of what's called synthetic biology, where they had DNA, which was human constructed DNA, or mimicking or based upon some DNA from bacteria, whatever. So it was called synthetic biology because it's not from a life form; it's from a human created form of life, whatever. So they made certain types of rules so that things wouldn't get out of hand, so that you wouldn't have some kind of harmful, intentional or unintentional life form affecting people. Oh, this synthetic bacteria got loose from the lab, and now it's going to harm people. Heaven forbid, no. So they tried to make rules when that first started coming out. I haven't seen, and I'm not aware of it. There probably is some kind of efforts to safeguard people from accidents or from malicious things from nanotechnologies. Melissa, I don't know about this field at all.
Yeah, well, I was just asking, one thing that came to mind is that you said in this day, I'm saying this has been going on a long time, this kind of, monitoring and surveillance and all the different experiments that they've done on civilians. But your point, and you said that if there is an implant, then that makes it more evidence-based if we were to retrieve it. Of course, I'm sure there would be great measures that went into place once it was removed to make sure it disappeared. But, we've heard of those type of stories too. But one thing that did come to mind that was something else is I know somebody who served in Desert Storm, and they had, at the time of, being deployed overseas, they had used the voice of God, voice to skull audible transmission on the enemy. So that alone right there says, okay, they didn't have time to implant those that they were using this on. So this was signals intelligence that was being used against them to project out, the voice. The voice is to get them to deter or to withdraw, against the troops, our troops, right? So we have to just keep an open mind. There's not just one answer on targeting. We are part of, it's from what Dr. Duncan had said, there's hundreds of programs out there about this. Again, each one is a different flavor, maybe trying a different, common, different aspects, a combination variance between these programs, and they're collecting data based off of those within that group and how they respond and what their findings were. And again, mental behavior modeling and influence of frequencies and signals intelligence being used up against the body and the nervous system. So again, there's just so many different avenues, and because this has been going on for so long, and it just kind of like anything, it's evolved over time, and we're still in this fight to get it exposed. But and who's to say what the next round will be? But by hopefully we've made a huge dent this year in getting out there. More and more people are coming forward, and just like thank you, Norman, for sharing your experience with us today. It's just, we never know from one day to the next. We learn something new all the time, and then more people are speaking out, and then we find the commonalities too of, oh, that's happened to me, and others can relate. So that's why it's so important for us to get out and speak about it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Melissa, for having me on. And
oh, and there was someone on Rumble that said that they did not receive or could see your email address that I posted, and it could be, I know others have reported some issues with the Rumble broadcast, so I'm going to go ahead and give this out verbally again one more time before we leave. It's N as in Nancy, C as in cat, R as in Rachel, 121198 at hotmail.com. And I'll repeat that again. This is Norman's email address. You can reach out to him with any questions that you may have for him at ncr121198 at hotmail.com. All right. Thanks again so much, Norman. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who dialed in today. And we had a spike of, viewers toward the end there. So again, if you missed out on the beginning of the broadcast with Norman, you can download that or access that on the Chosen Heroes X channel, Chosen Heroes Rumble, also YouTube. I will be uploading it on YouTube as well. And the Facebook group will also have an uploaded copy, Targeted Justice. You can access it there on their Rumble page and their X page, as well as their YouTube page. So lots of ways that you can view the podcast today if you dialed in later on. And for those who didn't have an opportunity to participate. Again, thanks so much, Norman. I really appreciate your time today. And God bless and have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.